Welcome to So and So, brought to you by Bernina, made to create. I'm Meg Goodman, and you're about to enjoy a casual conversation with a special member of the sewist and quilting community. A conversation about how they got started, what inspires them, what excites them, and their connection to this community. Our guest today is Jessica Barrera, an author, designer, educator, and entrepreneur who has been creatively sewing and crafting since the age of 5. She studied entrepreneurship at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and now operates her own sewing pattern and supply company, Sallie Tomato. In addition to running a business, she's a mom of 2 boys, loves coffee, home decorating, boutique shopping, traveling, yoga, being outdoors, and is a big fan of classic black and white movies, and she makes her home in Fox Lake, Wisconsin. Hi, Jessica, and welcome to So and So.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat today, and I hope the listeners are inspired in some way.
Oh, for sure. You have a wonderful story to tell us. Lots to share today. Let's get going and talk about how you learned how to sew. How did you?
Sure. So, like most people, my mom taught me how to sew when I was 5, and so we did various sewing and crafts projects together. I've taken several sewing classes at local shops, and one of the first things that I made was a quilt for my American Girl doll. So that was really fun to do.
You know, it's not unusual that people began sewing by doing that. Which doll did you have?
I had Kit.
Okay. And your inspiration as you learned to sew going forward. What were some of the things that inspired you to learn and then to keep going?
Yeah, so my mom has always been an avid sewer, and she actually worked at Nancy's Notions in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, when the store was local to us here. So if you, I'm sure you've heard of Nancy Zieman before, and so that Nancy's Notions was her store, and her involvement there, and meeting with Nancy and talking with Nancy on occasion was very inspiring to see someone follow their passion in sewing and create a business from it. So I've grown up around sewing, and I had a lot of moms growing up in the retail store per se with lots of advice over the years. So it's yeah, just being in that environment in the quilt store and watching Nancy and her videos was very inspiring.
And do you still make quilts today?
From time to time, I do,
Hmm.
and yeah, my passion has turned to bag making, but every now and then it's fun to do quilting and other sewing projects like apparel and things.
Well, let's take this a step further then. What interested you in starting a pattern and supply company?
Yeah, so in college, I started my business on the side, and I was making things and selling them. So I wasn't quite yet sure what I wanted to do. I was going to school for a practical job, so I had interests in teaching and marketing and fashion, and I really felt like college was a pivotal time for me, as I'm sure it is for most people, because there was a part of me that needed a sense of security. So I was kind of aiming for a realistic job. But then there was also a part of me that was saying, you have to follow your dreams and your passion because you only get one chance at life. So college was a great time to start my side business. And by the time I graduated, I was very grateful that my business was generating enough income to allow me to take the leap to work for myself full time. So all while I was going to school, my mom saw how hard I was working and how popular some of the projects that I were making was selling, and she encouraged me to write some instructions for the projects and teach people how to make them on their own versus me putting in the hard work to make them myself. So I delved into pattern design, and I remembered my experiences from working at Nancy's Notions in high school. And I knew that I wanted to offer the supplies to go with my patterns. So that way customers wouldn't be frustrated trying to hunt down the bag hardware and some of the unique fabrics. So I also wanted to make sure that it would be easy for them to create professional looking projects on their home sewing machines. So that's kind of how all of the supplies came into play with the patterns, and started out with a few baskets on on my college dorm room dresser, and it grew to take over our apartment, and it just kept growing from there.
Now, you studied entrepreneurship at University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Was there one particular lesson that had the most impact on you and helped you with your business?
I would have to say my class on management and leadership was actually the most helpful since it pertains to a lot of what I do each day in my business now. So I didn't expect myself to shift into this role so quickly, but um, so when I do have the chance to be creative, it's very special since most of what I do each day is manage the business operations. So it's been a lot of learning over the years to encourage our team and inspire them to work together, but also independently. So I think back to that class and the lessons that I learned in college. That was very helpful.
And we're going to talk more about your business in a minute here, but at first I want you to tell us about the puppy pillow.
Sure. So that was the first pattern that I designed, and that was the pivotal project that I turned into my first pattern. It was a dog bed made out of fleece that had an attached blanket, and I was selling these in my Etsy shop. And they were very popular, so I wrote instructions on how to make them, and um, so it's been fun to see uh, our customers create them for their own pets. And um, so I know I started out with that pattern, but I always had the interest in bags and wallets, so I've moved towards those over the years. But that was my first pattern.
Did you have a puppy at the time you made this for?
Oh yes, my dachshund. He was always cold, so I made one for him, and that was his favorite place to be.
Now, the name of your business is Sallie Tomato. How did you come up with that name?
Yeah, so Sally is my middle name, and tomato represents a tomato pincushion for sewing. And Sally Tomato is also a character from Breakfast at Tiffany's, so that ties in my love of classic movies. So all of the patterns I design are named after classic movies as well. So it's fun to tie in like a backstory or the designs of the era um, and share that in the pattern designs.
Now, we understand you love black and white movies. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I have a favorite actor, Cary Grant, so anything that he's in, I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those, he made a lot of classics for sure. Now, you're using your designs and products to attract the next generations of sewing enthusiasts, but you still want to appeal to current makers. Tell us the difference between these two demographics.
Sure. So we've identified that generally people who are sewing now are about 65 years or older. Uh, so we're also working towards appealing to people in their late 30s who are older or have tween children. Generally, they're creative, organized people. And um, so we've offered our patterns and products to gear more towards beginner content, which is actually really nice for the current makers too, because the projects are easy for them. And we like to call some of our projects a good palette cleanser. So between quilts, it's nice to have a smaller project um, to make with your scraps. And we always make our video tutorials to go with it as well. So no matter what stage you're at creatively, we really want to provide the education to go along so you have the most success with your projects.
Now, you talked about current sewists. Talk about the next generation of sewists. Who are they and what's unique about them?
Sure. So I believe it's people in their late 30s. So we see a lot of them on Pinterest and Instagram, the social media platforms. And so we just keep them in mind as we're designing and incorporating some classic designs, but sprinkle in trends here or there, along with the hardware and the luxury looking fabrics like our faux leather, micro suede. Upcycling is also very popular with the next generation of sewists too. We see that a lot on social media. So incorporating upcycle projects into patterns and just inspiring in that sense too.
Your business is really successful, Jessica. It's growing. you have more than 20 people now working with you. You talked a little bit about what you learned in college. To what do you attribute your success?
Well, thank you. It's certainly been a lot of long days over the years, but I'd have to say that networking and collaborating with other designers and store owners has really helped over the years to grow the business. So from the very beginning, it was important to me that Sallie Tomato and I were involved in the sewing community and making friends. So we attended as many trade shows as we could. I teach whenever I can, and we try to reach out and collaborate with fellow designers about once a month at least, and maintain those friendships. So I'm very passionate about collaborating, um, and I think all of us in the industry have our own unique things to bring to the table, and there's more than enough room for everyone. So it's been really fun to collaborate um, and just help lift each other up and celebrate our strengths over the years.
What unique things do you bring to the table?
Sure. So we found a niche in the industry um, as far as the ease of bag hardware and supplies. So we always provide hardware in 5 different colors. So that way, no matter what piece you need, everything coordinates. You don't have to hunt around for different pieces of hardware. Our zippers are unique as well. They have a nylon coil, but they look like metal, so you can sew through them, which is really great for bag making. And then our unique fabrics, like cork fabric, as well. So I've done a lot of research and sourcing and product development for different types of fabrics and styles of hardware to just grow that segment of the bag making products available.
Now, in 2016, you switched from selling what you created to releasing your first pattern. Why did you make the switch?
Yeah, my mom encouraged me to do so because I was spending all of this time sewing and on top of classes and working a part-time job. And through our connections at Nancy's, um, I, I typed up my instructions and I took a picture of my dog for the front cover of the pattern and printed out a copy just on my regular printer, put it in a nice Ziploc bag, and I pitched it to the buyer at Nancy's Notions. And graciously, she put it in their catalog, and that was really encouraging to have that support from them and grow that over the years too. So,
In building your business, Jessica, was there anything you wish you had approached differently?
well, of course, there are certain decisions that I wish I would have made differently, but I think mistakes are part of the learning process, and so I would say that I think I'm on the path that I'm meant to be, and it all happened for a reason, and it's all just a learning process.
What's the toughest part of your business?
I would say constantly making decisions every day. it, I'm generally a more quiet person and reserved, so having the business and putting myself out there has been a challenge, but in a good way. And I've worked on growing my confidence, and also I think just maintaining a good work-life balance too
Mhm.
between my family. And I have so many ideas, and I get so ambitious, but then just need to take a step back and realize what's realistic to accomplish. So,
Sure. Now, one thing that you believe very strongly in is sustainability. In fact, on your website, you list 17 tenants that you adhere to. Would you talk about a few of these and how your company is making these happen?
sure. So this is something that we look at annually and see how we can incorporate different sustainable actions within the business. And there are certain things that we can do every single day to contribute, but then other times we work on various donations throughout the year for charities that are local or worldwide. And we make sure to only collaborate with businesses that have safe and ethical standards in place. And um, one of our products, we're really proud to offer cork fabric because it actually helps contribute to the reduction of CO2. So it's the only tree in the world that can have its bark harvested and the bark will regrow itself. So every
Mm,
time it regrows, it um, helps cleanse the air and helps with the reduction of CO2. So there's a variety of things our team does too. Every month we go and clean up trash locally, and we help donate to a local park foundation, Amazon Rainforest Conservation, and Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So we're trying our best to do our part and make sure our packaging is recyclable. And so having those 17 tenants on our website is just a good check-in to make sure that we're involved in as many ways that we can be. And some are a little bit more challenging because, what can we do when we just sew and offer sewing products? So then we have to get creative with our initiatives and implementation.
Do you have suggestions for people, sewists and quilters, who can also be a part of sustainability?
Sure, I guess an easy one is just to make sure that your packaging is recyclable and um, saving your scraps and things like that. That's really easy to do in that sense.
Now, on your website, and I thought this was wonderful, you talk very fondly of where you're located, which is Fox Lake, Wisconsin. You live there, your business is there. So much so, you're so fond of this place that you invite people to visit, and you even provide suggestions for things to do. Is this where you grew up?
Yes, I grew up in Fox Lake.
So it is special to you. And what is it that makes it so special?
I think our town is very collaborative. So there's a lot of local events and um, supporting local businesses. And growing up over the years, I've got to know a lot of the local business owners. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce. And I guess what's extra special is the building that our office runs out of
Mm-hmm.
actually sat empty for 15 years. And when I was in elementary school, our bus would drive past the building every morning, and I always wondered what it looked like inside. And now it's just so special because my husband and I completely renovated it, and it started out as our office and warehouse space. Now we have a separate warehouse, but um, it was a really good experience working with our small town and the mayor to help grow the warehouse or build the warehouse in the industrial park as well. So yeah, just being involved with everybody over the years has been really great, and um, it's got a lot of charm. There's our lake, a lot of great restaurants, and like I said, the small businesses and boutiques and things.
Do people come to visit you because they know of Sallie Tomato?
Yes, we have. We've had a lot of people come and visit from out of state. Um, we don't have a store anymore. We just sell online and sell through local retailers to help support the quilt shops. Um, so we don't have our storefront anymore, but we did have quite a few people come from out of state, which was really amazing.
It must be special when they walk in and want to meet you because of the business that you do.
Yes, yes, it's a surreal feeling when it's just, little old me and to have them come in and be excited about the product and the tutorials. And yeah, it's definitely encouraging and motivating.
One of the things that you enjoy is traveling. Do you have a favorite place that you travel to?
Well, as a family, we camp a lot. So, yeah, and we go to campgrounds uh, in the Midwest mainly. South Dakota's a really fun area too, and I think just being in nature is always so inspiring and just a good way to refresh your mind. And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time camping. And my brother, who is my business partner, recently married and moved to Peru. So I've been to Peru. That was
Mm.
an amazing experience, and I hope to travel more. And we're hoping to plan a trip with craft tours to go to Portugal, so then we can go to a cork farm and see how the cork is made together and do some classes and things too. So
We learned about you in the opening of this episode, the different things that you like to do, boutique shopping, home decorating. You love coffee. I can relate to that. You mentioned you love to be outdoors, hence camping. Is there something about you that we don't know that you want to share with us?
yeah, I think most people know that I'm a mom of two boys, so that's been um, really fun to. They've encouraged me to, take a break from work and, um, you know, just play and just, bake and cook and have fun in that sense. So yeah, I really enjoy being a mom. Yeah, I'm really involved with my family. So my mom helps out with the business too, and my husband helps out as well. So really great to have that support over the years. I'm trying to think some unique things. I'm usually pretty open with my hobbies and my passions. So yeah, I enjoy sharing that with our community.
Jessica, what's next for you? What's your dream?
Yeah, I've thought about this, and I feel like I'm honestly living my dream. So I think my passion will only continue to grow, and education is just really important to me. And I just want to share my knowledge of sewing and bag making as much as possible and help other people build up their confidence to sew. Yeah, I'm just so grateful for this career, and I know that we're a growing team now, and I could see us growing even more. And even just over the past 5 years, we've grown from just my brother and I to a team of nearly 30 people. So I'm just so excited to see what the next 5 years bring. And I just
Mm.
want to continue to collaborate, expand our products, and yeah, just teach more about bag making.
In our conversation today, is there anything I didn't ask you?
Hard to think of something to ask myself, I guess. um,
Anything special that you wish I had asked you that you wanted to talk about?
well, I'm really proud of the two books that I've written. One on cork fabric, it's called Create with Cork Fabric, and then my second one came out last June, called Making Bags, a Field Guide. So I hope to write another book someday, but these are great resources um, that I hope will be just a good tool to have in your sewing room to reference whenever you have a question on hardware, zippers, interfacing. I cover it all and break it down so it's easy to follow. And then there's projects to get started in each of the books as well.
You mentioned cork fabric, and I know that's important to you. Why is that?
So cork fabric is 100% sustainable product. It's a layer of cork adhered to a fabric support backing. And uh, cork has been seen in designer bags, and it's really neat to be able to let sewers have access to fabrics like that. So it was interesting to source that in and test out the different backings and create projects with it so that way you can sew with it on a home sewing machine.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that it's sustainable, it's hypoallergenic, easy to cut and sew, you don't need any special tools. So whenever we bring new products in, we try to make sure that they're easy to sew on a home sewing machine. And the same goes for our hardware as well. Like all of our hardware is installed with screws or has prongs, and that way it seems a little bit more familiar as you kind of graduate towards more challenging hardware that it's all pretty much installed the same way, which is nice.
When our listeners want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
I love connecting on Instagram so you can see what's going on in our stories. We share lots of behind the scenes, and you can always send us any questions that you have on YouTube as well. We check that actively. If you're sewing along with the tutorial, you can pause it as you sew and ask questions in the comments. And yeah, we're very active on all social media, or you can always email us info@sallietomato.com for any other questions that you may have.
That's perfect. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to invite people to go up to Fox Lake, Wisconsin and visit you.
Oh, thank you.
And I will do that. It seems like it's a wonderful place. And I just want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
It was great. Thank you. And there you have it, another story about someone just like you, someone for whom sewing and quilting is so much more than a hobby. It's a way of life and a connection to something bigger. If you know someone you think has an outstanding story, a story that should be shared on this podcast, please drop me a note to meg@soandsopodcast.com or complete the form on our website. Be sure to subscribe to, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite platform. And visit our website, sewandsopodcast.com, for more information about today's and all of our guests. That's SEWANDSO podcast.com. And finally, I want to thank Bernina for making this program possible. I'm Meg Goodman, and I look forward to you joining us next time on So and So.